Hey, beautiful. If you clicked on this video tonight, I have a feeling it wasn't random. Maybe you've been lying awake at 2 in the morning, replaying a text message. Maybe you've been smiling at everyone all day while quietly falling apart inside. Maybe you've been pouring yourself into someone who hasn't even noticed you're running on empty. So here's what I need you to do. Put your phone on silent. Take one deep breath and stay right here with me. Because the next few minutes might just give you back a piece of yourself you forgot you lost. This space focuses on growth, healing, and becoming the woman you want to become. No judgment, no performance. Just real conversations about the things we all feel but rarely say out loud. In today's episode, we're diving into a book that has the power to completely shift the way you think, the way you see yourself, and the way you navigate every single relationship in your life. And I don't use the word completely lightly. I mean it. This one idea is so simple that you might hear it and think, okay, sure, I get it. But then it'll sit in your chest for 3 days. And on day 4, something will click. And you'll never look at your relationships the same way again. Section 1, the problem, overstimulation of the mind. Have you ever found yourself replaying the same conversation over and over in your head? You know the one, the conversation where you said something, they responded in a tone you didn't expect. And now it's been 6 hours and you've rewritten that exchange in your mind at least 40 times, wondering why they didn't reply, trying to convince someone to understand your point of view, hoping, praying, really, that someone would finally see your worth without you having to spell it out. Or maybe you've spent so much time trying to fix a relationship that the other person wasn't even trying to save. You were the one sending the long paragraphs. You were the one saying, "Can we talk?" You were the one Googling how to make someone understand how I feel at midnight. And they were just existing, unbothered, barely present. And somehow you made yourself believe that if you just tried a little harder, explained a little better, loved a little louder, they'd finally show up the way you needed them to. If any of that sounds familiar, and honestly, if your chest just tightened a little reading those words, this book might genuinely change your life, because today's episode is all about one incredibly simple idea. Just let them lose you, let them misunderstand you, let them walk away, let them, just 2 words, 2 tiny, unremarkable words. Yet, these 2 words can save your energy, quiet your overthinking, help you stop chasing people who aren't walking towards you, strengthen your confidence from the inside out, and bring your focus back to the only person you can actually control, yourself. Section 2, why we're really exhausted. The truth is, most of us aren't exhausted because life is hard. Life is challenging, yes, but that's not what's draining us. We're exhausted because we're constantly trying to control things that were never ours to control. We try to control how people see us, how quickly they text back, whether they choose us over someone else, whether they understand our intentions, whether they stay, whether they change, whether they finally say the thing we've been waiting to hear for months, maybe years. And without even realizing it, we hand other people the keys to our peace. We hand them the remote control to our emotions and say, "Here, you decide how I feel today." One delayed reply changes our entire mood. One offhand opinion from a coworker ruins our confidence for the rest of the week. One rejection, one single no, suddenly makes us question our entire worth as a human being. One friend cancels plans, and we spiral into thinking nobody actually likes us. We've built entire emotional ecosystems around other people's behaviors, and then we wonder why we're tired. We wonder why we feel like we're performing life instead of living it. Section 3, the Let Them Theory. Explain that's exactly what the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins talks about. And before you think this is just another let it go motivational poster kind of idea, it's not. It's deeper than that. It's more practical than that. And honestly, it's harder to do than it sounds. The idea isn't to stop caring. It isn't about becoming cold, detached, or indifferent. It isn't about pretending people don't matter. And it definitely, absolutely isn't about accepting disrespect or tolerating mistreatment. If someone is hurting you, you don't let them keep doing it. You remove yourself. That's not the same thing. The Let Them Theory is about understanding one life-changing truth. You cannot control other people. You cannot control their thoughts, their feelings, their choices, their timing, their capacity to love, or their willingness to grow. You can influence, you can communicate, you can show up, but you cannot reach into someone else's brain and make them see what you see. If they want to misunderstand you, let them. If they choose to leave, let them. If they don't see your value, let them. If they judge you without knowing your story, let them. If they decide you're too much, or not enough, or too intense, or too quiet, let them believe whatever they need to believe. Because your job isn't to manage people's opinions of you. Your job is to protect your peace. Your job is to show up as yourself and let the right people recognize that. Section 4, the real drain, managing other people. One of my favorite ideas from this book is that the real thing draining you isn't actually other people. It's not their behavior. It's not their words. It's your constant, exhausting, never-ending attempt to manage them. Manage their perception of you. Manage their mood. Manage their reaction. Manage whether they like you today. Think about how much energy we waste every single day checking someone's last seen timestamp, reading the same text message 10, 15, 20 different times, analyzing every period, every emoji, every missing exclamation point, trying to figure out what they really meant, imagining entire conversations that never happened, creating worst-case scenarios before anything has even gone wrong, rehearsing what you'll say if they bring up a certain topic, monitoring their social media to see if they're posting things that might be about you. By the end of the day, you're emotionally exhausted. Not because something terrible happened, not because anyone actually said a hurtful word to your face, but because your mind never stopped working. Your brain ran a marathon while your body was sitting still on the couch. And you wonder why you need a nap at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. And here's the thing nobody talks about. This isn't a character flaw. This is often a survival response. If you grew up in an environment where you had to read the room, where you had to anticipate someone's mood to stay safe, where love felt conditional, of course your brain learned to hyper-monitor other people. It was trying to protect you, but you're not in that environment anymore, and that survival mechanism is now costing you your peace. Section 5, love versus fear. And here's something I realized while reading this book that genuinely stopped me in my tracks. Sometimes we call it love when it's actually fear. There's a huge difference. And I think a lot of us have confused the two for years. Love gives people freedom. Love says, I trust you, I trust us. You can be yourself, and I'll still be here. Love feels like an open door. Fear tries to control. Fear says, if you really loved me, you'd text back immediately. If you really cared, you'd never make me feel uncertain. Fear feels like a locked room where you're constantly checking the windows. If you're constantly trying to change someone, convince them to see things your way, stop them from making their own decisions, monitor who they talk to, or make them behave in ways that make you feel safe, I need you to ask yourself, honestly, gently, without judgment, is this really love? Or am I just afraid of losing them? Am I afraid of being alone? Am I afraid that if I let go of the control, everything will fall apart? Because fear turns relationships into surveillance. You become the detective, the monitor, the manager, and the other person becomes a project. Love turns relationships into safe spaces. Two people, two whole individuals, choosing each other freely every single day, not because they're trapped, because they want to be there. Section 6, not everything deserves an explanation. Another lesson that completely changed my perspective is this: not everything deserves an explanation. Not every silence is a message. Not every delay is a rejection. Not every short reply means they're losing interest. Sometimes people reply late because they're genuinely busy. Sometimes they're tired. Sometimes they're dealing with something you don't know about. Sometimes they simply don't know what to say. Sometimes they read your message, felt warmth, and thought, I'll respond when I can give this proper attention, and then life got in the way. But an anxious mind hates uncertainty. An anxious mind cannot sit with, I don't know why they haven't replied yet, so it starts writing stories. And these stories are always the worst case version. They're losing interest. They're ignoring me. I did something wrong. They probably don't like me anymore. They're talking to someone else. They're finally realizing I'm too much. Notice something? None of those are facts. Not a single one. They're stories, fiction, screenplays your anxiety wrote and directed and cast you as the victim in. And we suffer from stories far more often than we suffer from reality itself. The actual text that finally comes in usually says, hey, sorry, was in meetings all day, miss you. And you realize you just spent 4 hours in emotional hell over absolutely nothing. The next time you catch yourself overthinking someone's behavior, I want you to stop. Physically stop what you're doing. Put the phone down if you need to. Take one breath and ask yourself, am I reacting to what's actually happening right now, in this moment, in reality? Or am I reacting to the story I created in my own mind? That one question, just that one question, can instantly bring you back to the ground, back to reality. And it can save you hours, sometimes days, of emotional spiraling. Section 7, reactions as mirrors. Also, and this is a big one, not every reaction you have is about the other person. Sometimes their behavior is just a trigger, and what's really happening is happening inside you. They're not the wound, they're just touching it. When someone's behavior changes, they're a little quieter, a little more distant, a little less enthusiastic, we immediately start analyzing every little thing they do, every word, every pause, every shift in energy. But often, what we're really noticing isn't about them at all. What we're noticing is a wound we haven't healed yet, a fear of rejection that goes all the way back to childhood, a fear of being left behind, a deep, quiet belief that you somehow aren't enough, that you're too difficult, that people eventually get tired of you. And those fears, those old unhealed fears, they quietly start controlling your emotions. They whisper, see, they're pulling away. It's happening again. you're going to be abandoned. And suddenly you're not reacting to what's in front of you. You're reacting to every person, whoever made you feel like you were disposable. Instead of healing those fears, like sitting with them, naming them, maybe talking to a therapist about them, maybe journaling, maybe just crying and letting yourself feel them, we often start changing our behavior. We become smaller. We watch people more closely. We try harder to keep them happy. We over-explain ourselves. We apologize for things we didn't do wrong. We convince ourselves that if we can just be more perfect, more easygoing, more low maintenance, more everything, then they'll stay, then they won't leave, then we'll be safe. But none of that creates real peace. None of it. Because peace doesn't come from controlling people. It doesn't come from performing a version of yourself that's designed to be unleavable. It comes from no longer needing to control. It comes from trusting yourself enough to know this. The people who truly want to stay will stay. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to audition for their love. You don't have to become someone else just to be chosen. And the people who decide to leave, as painful as it feels, as much as it breaks something open in your chest, maybe the most powerful, most dignified, most self-loving thing you can do is simply let them go. And then pour all that love you were saving for them back into yourself. Section 8, taking your energy back, practical steps. So, how do you actually take your energy back? Because I know what you're thinking. Okay, Mia, this sounds great in theory, but how do I actually do this on a Thursday night when I'm staring at my phone waiting for a text? It starts when you stop chasing validation, approval, and certainty from other people. That's step 1. You stop outsourcing your self-worth. You stop asking other people to confirm that you matter. You stop needing someone else to say you're enough before you believe it. And when you stop doing that, when you truly, genuinely stop, you finally have room to focus on yourself, room to rediscover what you actually like, room to build a life that isn't structured around someone else's schedule, someone else's mood, someone else's availability. Your confidence grows, not the loud performative kind, the quiet kind, the kind where you walk into a room and don't need anyone to notice you. Your mind feels lighter, you sleep better, you laugh more easily. Your life stops revolving around someone else's choices and starts revolving around your own. Say that's real freedom, not the Instagram quote kind. The real kind, the kind where you wake up and the first thought in your head isn't about someone else.
Section 9, example. Elle Woods, Legally Blonde. Now, let's see this mindset in action. Because I think sometimes we need to see it lived out before we can truly believe it's possible. One of the best examples of this mindset is Elle Woods from Legally Blonde. And if you haven't watched that movie in a while, I need you to rewatch it through this lens. It hits completely differently. Elle Woods believed that if she became everything Warner Huntington III wanted, if she was prettier, thinner, quieter, more serious, he'd finally choose her. She'd finally be enough. So she chased his approval. She followed him to Harvard. She tried to fit into a version of herself she thought he wanted. She shrank. She dimmed her light. She wore the costume she thought would earn his love. But when she got there, everyone underestimated her. They looked at the girl in pink, the girl with the scented resume, the girl who talked about hair care in the middle of a law lecture, and they decided she wasn't smart enough. She wasn't serious enough. She didn't belong. And that's when everything changed. And this is the moment I need you to really pay attention to. Instead of wasting her energy proving them wrong, instead of going to every single person and saying, no, wait, I'm actually really smart. Let me explain. Let me convince you. She let them think whatever they wanted. She let them underestimate her. She let them whisper. She let them roll their eyes. And then she put her head down. She stopped chasing Warner's attention. She stopped trying to make him see her. She started focusing on becoming the best law student she could be. Not for him, not for them, for herself. She stayed true to herself. She kept wearing pink. She kept being unapologetically, fully, completely Elle. She worked harder than anyone expected. And she built a future that had nothing to do with anyone else's approval. And here's the best part. The part that gets me every single time. By the time Warner finally realized her worth, by the time he came back and said, hey, maybe I made a mistake, she didn't need him to. She didn't need his validation anymore. She didn't need him to see her. Because the moment Elle stopped chasing someone else's approval, she found her own. And that was always the real prize. That's exactly what Let Them is about. Let them judge you. Let them underestimate you. Let them believe whatever story they've written about you in their heads. Your job isn't to change their mind. Your job isn't to correct their narrative. Your job is to keep building the life you want, quietly, consistently, for yourself. Section 10, example, Cher Horowitz, Clueless. The next character who perfectly embodies this is Cher Horowitz from Clueless, and I love this example because it's so subtle. At first, Josh constantly judged Cher. He thought she was shallow, spoiled, self-absorbed, only cared about fashion and popularity and surface level things. He looked at her and decided he had her figured out. But Cher, and this is the key, Cher didn't spend the whole movie trying to convince him he was wrong. She didn't sit him down and deliver a monologue about how deep she actually was. She didn't suddenly change her personality. She didn't stop dressing the way she liked. She didn't pretend to be someone she wasn't just to earn his approval. She didn't perform intellectualism for his benefit. She just kept being herself, fully, unapologetically. She kept caring about fashion and about people. She kept being bubbly and thoughtful. She kept being Cher. And then something beautiful happened. Josh's opinion started to change. Not because Cher chased his validation, not because she argued with him, not because she tried to prove anything, but because authenticity is hard to ignore. Real, genuine, unperformed authenticity eventually breaks through every wall. He eventually realized that everything he once judged her for was also what made her different, what made her special, what made her her. You don't have to convince people. You just have to keep being yourself. The right people will see it. And the ones who don't, let them. Section 11, example, Hailey Bieber Rhode. The next person who immediately came to mind was Hailey Bieber. And I know she's a polarizing figure, but stay with me, because the lesson here is powerful regardless of how you feel about celebrity culture. For years, it felt like the entire internet had an opinion about everything she did, every outfit, every photo, every public appearance. People judged her, compared her to other women, created elaborate stories about her personality, her marriage, her motives. They turned almost every single photo she posted into a debate, into a referendum on whether she was allowed to exist in the space she occupied. And the volume of that noise was relentless. Day after day, year after year, millions of strangers dissecting her life like it was a group project.
One of my favorite examples of how she handled it was the whole Nepo baby trend. You remember this? Everyone was posting about their connections, their family names, their advantages. And instead of Hailey posting a long defensive explanation, instead of writing a caption that said, "Actually, I've worked really hard, and you don't know my story, and I deserve to be here," she walked outside wearing a t-shirt that literally said, "Nepo baby." She owned it. She leaned into it. She took the weapon they were trying to use against her and turned it into a joke, into a moment, into something that disarmed the entire conversation. And then she did something even smarter. Instead of spending all her energy fighting strangers in comment sections, instead of drafting response videos, instead of trying to convince millions of people that she deserved her life, she poured that energy into building Rhode, her skincare brand, her vision, her empire. While people were busy writing paragraphs about her personal life, she was quietly, steadily creating one of the most successful beauty brands in the industry. While they talked, she built. While they judged, she grew. While they were loud, she was productive. I think that's one of the best real-life examples of the let them mindset in action. Not because everyone eventually stopped talking, they didn't, and they probably won't. But because she stopped letting their opinions decide where her energy went. She took the pen back, she wrote her own story, and she let everyone else talk themselves out. Section 12, final reflection. So before we finish this video, I want you to sit with one question, just one, and I want you to really let it land. What would change in your life if you simply let them? If you let them misunderstand you? If you let them leave? If you let them have their opinion? If you let them not choose you? If you let them be exactly who they are without trying to fix them, save them, convince them, or earn them? What would you do with all that energy you get back? What would you build? Who would you become? What would your Tuesday evenings look like if they weren't spent analyzing someone's text messages? What would your self-worth look like if it wasn't tied to someone else's validation? I think you already know the answer, and I think it's beautiful. If this episode hit something deep in you tonight, if you felt seen, if you felt understood, if a little knot in your chest loosened just a tiny bit, then I need you to do one small thing for me right now. Hit that subscribe button and join the Beneath Attraction family. This is a space built for women who are done shrinking themselves to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Every single week, I'm right here breaking down books, mindset shifts, real psychology, and honest conversations that help you heal, grow, and become unapologetically and beautifully you. Smash that like button if this resonated. Drop it in the comments and tell me, what are you choosing to let go of today? What are you letting them have so you can have yourself back? Share this video with that one friend. You know the one who's been overthinking a text for 3 days. Send it to her. She needs this. And remember, you don't have to earn anyone's love by losing yourself. You don't have to be smaller, quieter, or more palatable to be worthy of a good life. You are enough, exactly as you are, right now, in this moment, before you change a single thing. I'm Mia. This is Beneath Attraction, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay beautiful, stay limitless, and always, always choose yourself first.